This is Pastor Gavin. I'm going to share with you a little bit about what it means for us at Morgan Grace Church. If you want to be a member, what that looks like. We have had videoed this little series. Pastor Chase introduced it. Pastor Todd talked about what it means to love your neighbor and to plant churches. And now I'm going to talk to you today about loving God. And we get all this from Matthew chapter 22, verse 34 through 40. I'm going to read that to you right now. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they came together, and one of them, an expert in the law, asked a question to test him. "Teacher, which command in the law is the greatest?" He said to him, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and most important command. The second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these two commands." I'm going to talk to you for just a minute about when you come into a membership agreement, when you become a member of Morgan Grace Church, what it means for us to say that love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. A prerequisite for membership is you have to be a Christian, meaning that you understand that Jesus is your only hope in life and death, that you're a sinner, that you're in desperate need of God's grace, that you deserve God's wrath and judgment, but God shows you grace in Christ, who came and lived the life that you could not live, died the death that you deserved, but he didn't stay dead. He rose again. He was resurrected, and you're counting completely and totally on him to make you right with a holy and perfect God. That you've done nothing to deserve God's grace and mercy that he shows you in Christ, and you're banking totally on Jesus for that grace and mercy. So that is fundamental to understanding the gospel. We have to be on the same page there. And if you understand this, that's going to cause you to love God. And so when we come together as a church family, we want to love God together. And that fleshes itself out in several ways. First of all, that you would be dedicated to following him in your daily life. That church is not something that we only do on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. at Morgan Grace, but that being a Christian is something we do all the time. This is a way of life, a way that we live. It determines how we think, what we say, where we go, where we don't go, what we don't say, what we don't think. Loving God determines everything about how we live our lives, how we treat our spouse, how we treat our friends, our coworkers, people that are driving by us on the road. Loving God changes all these things about how we live our life. It changes that we actually spend time reading the Bible. We spend time in prayer for our church family, for ourselves to be holy and to love God with all that we are. So loving God determines so much of how we live our life. It determines our schedule. When we say we want to love God together as a church family, that when you become a member, you're committing to be there. And that's hard for a lot of people sometimes. But the reality is, an essential part of church membership, of you coming together with this church family, is that you commit to be there as much as it may be possible. And we understand that people should take vacation. Sometimes things come up. But in generally speaking, if you're in town, you need to be at church. And it's something that we want to make sure is a priority for us as a member, that we're committing to be there with our church family. This is a very important piece of what membership looks like. And loving God also then is going to play itself out in how we treat other people. If you love God, then you have to love his church. To say that you love Jesus and not love his church is to completely misunderstand the New Testament's teaching on what it means to be a Christ follower. If you look at the New Testament, you look at the Bible, all the letters, Romans, Philippians, Colossians, Ephesians, Galatians, all these letters are written to churches. It'll say to the churches in Galatia. So to say that you can love Jesus without loving his church is to completely misunderstand God's teaching. And I know this is a very common teaching today. I think there is no evidence for this in the Bible, that to love God is to automatically imply that you must love others. You must love specifically his church. Like the book of Galatians says that we're to seek to do good of all people, especially to those of the household of faith. There's a special bond we have with our brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus, and church membership is a way that we flesh out this special bond where we bear one another's burdens, love each other well, do all these things together because of the unity we have, the love that God has for us, and the love that we have for him. We appreciate you. We're glad that you're considering being a part of what God is doing at Morgan Grace Church through loving him together as a church family.